it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. Now, in this video, I'm going to discuss that surprise Aiel that's going to show up in the first season of Amazon Prime's Wheel of Time show. Also, my new contest is in full swing, so if you're already a subscriber and you like and comment on my videos, don't worry, you're already entered. But if not, maybe click that subscribe button right now and wait for the end of the video, because I will discuss the contest, what the prizes are, and how to enter. Alright, with all that out of the way, spoiler warning! In this video, I'm going to give my picks for who this Aiel could be. So if you haven't read at least the first 4 books of the Wheel of Time series, that is up to and including the end of The Shadow Rising, be forewarned, I may ruin some plot points and some character arcs for you. And again, if I happen to get any of these things right, I'm probably going to ruin parts of the first season of the Wheel of Time show as well. So, you've been warned. Alright, let's get on to the video. Okay, so who is this surprise Aiel? What am I talking about? Well, Rafe, the showrunner, Rafe Judkins, last year in a Q&A essentially said that we're going to see an Aiel in the first season. It's a mystery surprise Aiel, someone that we wouldn't see in the first book of the Eye of the World. So that makes a lot of sense, because really the only Aiel we see in the Eye of the World is Rand. I mean, he's pretty much it. They're discussed, they're talked about, but we don't see anything about anyone else except Rand, and he said it's not Rand. So who could this Aiel be? Well, I'm going to give you a few different choices here, and we're going to talk about who they are, where I think it could fit into the first season, and why. All right, now my first choice is Tigraine Mantir. Now, she becomes a Maiden of the Spear. Essentially, she was the daughter heir of Andor. She went to the White Tower to train for a few years, but had no ability to channel. She came home and married Terengale Demandred and had a son, Galad. Now, you guys know Galad from the first book. He is Gawain and Elaine's half-brother. So there's that. So he is a character that you're going to see in the first book. But his mom basically talked to an Aes Sedai, and the Aes Sedai had a foretelling that said if she did not leave and go to live with the Maidens of the Spear in the Waste, then basically the world was going to have a real bad time. Now I'm paraphrasing a bit there, but that's what she said. So she up and left her husband and her newborn child and basically walked into the Waste. She just disappeared. It caused a succession war and all kinds of strife for Andor, but it did pave the way for Morghese to be queen and have Elaine and Gawain basically with Terengale. So she married the husband of the daughter heir that disappeared to cement her as the ruler of Andor. Now, when Tigraine got into the Waste, she essentially just kind of hooked up with the Maidens of the Spear. She proved herself worthy over a period of time, and then became a maiden and took the name Shale. Now, Shale ended up marrying Jonwyn. Now, Jonwyn was the clan chief of one of the clans in the Aiel, and he's the one that led all of the Aiel over the Dragon Wall, basically during the big Aiel War, and the reason they came across essentially was just to kill Laman. Now, King Laman took a gift that was given to him, to his country, by the Aiel hundreds of years ago, which was a tree, cut it down, and made a throne out of it. Now, I'm paraphrasing a whole lot here, but essentially, he made them mad, and they came to kill him. Now, at the time, Tigraine was heavily pregnant with Jonwyn's child, and as a Maiden of the Spear, when they're pregnant, they're not supposed to go to battle or fight or anything like that, but he could deny her nothing, and so she came. And during the Blood Snow, which was a big, massive battle outside of Tar Valon, she fought on the slopes of Dragonmount and ended up giving birth there and dying. And that is where, we all know, Tamil Thor picked up the baby and ended up taking it home to carry his wife and raising Rand as his own. So, my first pick for who this surprise Aiel could be is probably going to be Rand's mom, Tigraine. Now, is it possible? Is it likely? I think so. I think it's actually very likely this is what we will see in a flashback. Now, the kicker is, when will we see this? Because we don't really know this information until a little bit later on in the book series, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Rand to know it prior to the events of the Eye of the World. Now, when I say Eye of the World, I do mean the chapter, the Eye of the World, where eventually the Eye of the World gets drained, they find the chest with the Horn of Valir, the Dragon Banner, and the Seal in the Dark One's prison, and, eventually Rand kind of figures out he's the Dragon Reborn, and then he goes to Tarwin's Gap to, basically go Super Saiyan and destroy a bunch of Trollocs and whatnot, and save all the forces that are there. So I think this would fit in very nicely in either episode 7 or 8. It depends on how they word this. We don't know much about those final 2 episodes. We do know that there is some stuff in Faldera. We do know that they are going to the Blight. And we're pretty sure we're seeing Tarwin's Gap. We're not 100%, but we're pretty sure about that. So I think this particular flashback scene would fit in very nicely just after the Eye of the World is drained. Moiraine unfurls the dragon banner, gives it to Rand, says he's the Dragon Reborn, and it turns into this big flashback thing where she explains his heritage, how he was born on the slopes of Dragon Mountain. So it's possible that it'll fit in there. Is this my favorite pick? No, I'm going to save my favorite for the very, very end. Now, my second pick for this Aiel is something a little bit different. Now, when Perrin and Egwene are with the Tinkers, with Elias, Rayan basically tells them a story. Now, this story is about another band of Tinkers, and they've given this story out to all the other Tinkers they've ever come in contact with or talked about. And he gives the story to Elias because Elias used to be, and they kind of go, he knows things. And we're not going to talk much more about that because I didn't give you any spoilers for further on in the book series. But essentially, he's wanting to know Elias's thoughts in this story. And the story is that a group of young Aiel went into the Blight to hunt Trollocs. And they were chased out of the Blight back into the Waste by a group of Trollocs and Halfmen, which is very odd because the Trollocs call the Waste the Dying Grounds. They're very scared of the Aiel. They're not, Trollocs are scared of a lot of things, but they're really scared of Aiel and the Waste. Basically to kill everyone, all the Aiel that went up there. Now, one of these Aiel, a young maiden of the spear, lived through the attack, and she basically, through sheer force of will, drug herself to the nearest people she could find, and these people happened to be Tinkers. Now, they hate Tinkers. Aiel hate Tinkers. They call them the Lost Ones. They don't even think they're people. That's how much they revile them. But she overcome her revulsion to go give a message, and this message was that Sight Blinder, which is their name for the Dark One, meant to blind the Eye of the World. And that's pretty important. Like, that's a very important message. So my second guess on who this mystery Aiel could be is this young maiden who is mortally wounded and kind of drags herself to this Tinker caravan and gives up this information, because I think it would be a very nice setup for them to go into the Eye of the World. Now, I don't think that we're going to see this flashback when Perrin and Egwene are talking to the Tinkers. I don't think they're going to do that then, because it's too early in the series for a television show to set up going to the Eye of the World, because no one even really knows what the Eye of the World is yet. They discuss it a little bit, but it's not really, at that point in the books, explained what it could be or mean. And if it's done that early in the show, people are going to lose interest, and they're not going to remember that when it comes to episode 7 or 8 when they do travel to the Eye of the World. So here's my thoughts on where it could fit into the story. Now, I think it's quite possible that when Rand and company and Moiraine and the rest of them all end up in Faldera and they're talking with Lord Elgmar, the story comes out then. I think they're going to hear the story from either Shannara Soldier or Lord Elgmar himself, and they're going to talk about it, and we'll see the flashback then, and that will cement the idea that they need to go to the Eye of the World for whatever reason. And it will also give the viewers who may not be familiar with the book series a concrete reason why they should go there. I mean, there's going to be lots of talk and other circumstantial reasons why they should go, but I think this will visually cement it to the viewer. So I think it's going to fit in there. So that's my second guess, an unnamed maiden in that flashback or that scene. So here's my third guess. And now this one is a little bit different, and it's the one I like the most. And I also think it's maybe a little more likely than the other two. So it is essentially the same as the second one. So instead of an unnamed maiden crawling her way to a Tinker caravan, so a one-shot actress who shows up and does a little bit and then kind of goes away, I think we're going to see Avi. I think we're going to see Avondale. Now, we do get to meet her in Book 4, really for an extended period of time during the Shadow Rising, and it's she becomes a main character in the book series for basically the rest of the series at that point. So I think it would be really neat to introduce her as that maiden who is mortally wounded, but maybe not completely mortally wounded, but hurt some, crawls her way to the Tinkers, tells her story, they mend her back to health, and then she goes back to her clan. It will give her more of, cement her in the viewer's mind. So you get to see her in a very important role, in a very important light. So when we do get to see her again later on in this series, people will pick right up and go, I know who she is. She was that maiden. And it kind of makes more of a Taverin quality to how they're going to cement things around and see things. And we've also discussed a couple of times that they're probably going to amalgamate certain characters, have the same actor or actress play a number of different characters in one shot, because there's 2,782 named characters in the Wheel of Time. They're not going to cast that many people. They're going to be cutting or amalgamating as much as they can. So my pick, like my favorite pick of this, is going to be that particular maiden that says that Sightblinder is going to blind the eye of the world, but it's Avi. It's Avienda. That's my pick. That's 100% my pick, and I think we will see that again during episode 7, just prior to going to the Eye of the World. Lord Elgmar will probably tell them the story, either him or his sister Annalisa, and they'll set all that up before they go, and we get to see Avi first. That's my guess. I mean, no real concrete information about this, but I just think that would fit so nice, and it would be really cool to see on the screen. All right, so there's that. Let me know in the comments down below, is this plausible? Do you like choice 1, choice 2, or choice 3? I know choice 2 and 3 were kind of similar, but 3 is Avi, and we all want to see Avi, and we're hoping she's cast sooner rather than later. Because we haven't seen Elaine yet. We know Minna's cast. Maybe Avi's also in the first season. We don't know for sure. But let me know in the comments down below which one you think is more likely, or if you have your own thoughts on who this could possibly be, which one do you think it could be, or which Aiel is going to show up in the first season, and how, which episode. Let me know all that stuff. All right, with that out of the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about the contest here before I let you guys go. Now, the contest is essentially this. If you're a subscriber and you've liked and commented on my videos over the last week and the next couple of weeks, I'm going to let this contest run. And then we're going to pick somebody who's subscribed to the channel, who's liked the videos, and who's made comments. And that person will be chosen completely at random, and you'll be given a choice. You'll either be given a choice to co-host an episode of What Up With Me, and it'll be a topic of your choice. So if you want to pick something Wheel of Time related, we'll talk 100% about whatever you pick. We're not going to talk about cats or dogs or plants or microphones or anything like that. It's got to be Wheel of Time related, but you get to pick the subject. You get to co-host with me, zoom in with me, I'll record it all, I'll edit it all up, and you can become pseudo YouTube famous. Now, there's also a secondary prize. Now, this is for those of you who don't want to be featured on YouTube, because I know not everybody likes their face out on YouTube, and that is a What Up mug. So you've all seen the Dusty Wheel and Takaran Rigoid and Weekly Wheel News Frosty mugs that they have. I'll send you guys a What Up Frosty mug. So that's your two choices. Co-host with me, which is the obvious real answer for anybody, or a What Up Frosty mug. All right. Thank you so much for sticking with me here to the very end. Here's to many more.